Yesterday, former U.S. President Donald Trump went on trial in a New York courtroom. The case casts major aspersions on fraud on Trump's business empire as he campaigns to retake the White House with 4 criminal cases looming. The trial's opening day brought Trump face to face with one of his longest running antagonists, the Attorney General of New York, Letitia James. Trump told reporters before the trial began that the case was a scam, a sham, and a political vendetta by James. In this case, Trump and his family business both are facing the trial to determine how much they owe on penalties. Take a listen.
Because I want to watch this witch hunt myself. I've been going through a witch hunt for years. This is really now getting dirty between Jack Smith and between all of these DOJ people helping them along. This is a pure witch hunt for purposes of interfering with the elections of the United States of America. It's totally illegal. This judge should be disbarred. He shouldn't be allowed to be a judge.
Trump, the frontrunner in the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, is accused by New York Attorney General Letitia James of inflating the value of his assets by billions of dollars to secure better loan and insurance rates. Moreover, Trump is accused of generating more than $100 million by lying about his real estate empire.
Donald Trump and the other defendants have committed persistent and repeated fraud. Last week, we proved that in our motion for summary judgment. Today, we will prove our other claims. My message is simple. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law. And it is my responsibility and my duty and my job to enforce it.
James is seeking at least $250 million in fines, a permanent ban against Trump and his son, Donald Jr. and Eric, from running businesses in New York, and a 5-year restriction on commercial real estate activities by Trump and his flagship Trump Organization. On the other hand, Trump has repeatedly dismissed the New York civil allegations, calling James a racist and labeling Engron, the judge, deranged.
Just so you know, my financial statements are phenomenal. They are actually less in terms of the numbers used than the actual net worth. The actual net worth is substantially more. No bank was affected, no bank was hurt. They don't even know why they have to be involved.
In addition to the civil case, Trump also faces several major criminal proceedings in the months ahead. He is scheduled to appear before a federal judge in Washington on March 4th. On charges of trying to overthrow the results of the 2020 presidential election won by Joe Biden. After that, Trump will be back in New York State court, this time on criminal hush money charges, and later in a Florida federal court, where he is accused of mishandling classified documents after leaving office. All right, for more on this, we are being joined by political analyst John Christopher Bua from Washington, D.C. John Christopher, great to see you again, and thank you for joining us on WION. All right, so Letitia James seems to have gotten what she was hoping for. And my question is, how do you look at this civil trial in New York? Trump and his camp, his lawyers have argued that there was no crime. Banks got all their money. Lenders got all their money. There are no victims. And unfortunately, however, under New York law, the Attorney General didn't have to show that there were any victims. What are your thoughts?
Well, as you said, and as the Attorney General said, Trump inflated the value of his properties to an absurd level, and then he deflated them when it was time to pay taxes. You can't get away with that in New York State, and you can't get away with that in the United States. Now, Susan, you know, you and I have had many conversations, unfortunately, too many, about Donald Trump. And here's the fact, that if this guy, Donald Trump, who I've known for almost 30 years, and I know all his shenanigans, if he had just not run for president, none of this stuff would have ever come up. And he could have been, you know, down in Mar-a-Lago having a good old time. But no, he had to do it. He had to get his MAGA disciples involved. He had to tell them that they, too, could have golden bathrooms and they could aspire to live in Trump Tower. All this puff and all of these these extreme concepts of power are being stripped away by his own stupidity. And he's losing that. And these are lies and lies and lies. And the Attorney General and the Judge Arthur Engoron are very aware of this guy. And he's going to be back there in a few minutes. But he's using this as a campaign ploy to get his disciples involved, to make these poor people who he wouldn't even want in his golf course or on his health clubs or wherever he has, or in his hotels. He has nothing to do with them, but they have sworn to him. They think he's a god, but guess what? The emperor has no clothes, and that's what's happening. And that's the extreme part of his ego and his brand, is that I am the richest, most powerful man. You know, I am basically Oz. Well, we all know what happened in The Wizard of Oz when Oz was exposed.
Okay. But let's talk about Letitia James as well. You can understand that his supporters and many Americans are skeptical about her role in all of this and what she hopes to achieve. New York Times, back in 2018, when she was elected, says that Letitia James, the incoming New York Attorney General, has made no secrets of how she feels about President Trump. She called him an illegitimate president. She campaigned on going after him. And legal experts in the New York Times, which is, anything right-leaning, and anyone of those writers, I suspect, does not support Donald Trump, says, will judges see a political vendetta on the part of Letitia James? So that's, I think, the sticking point for a lot of people. And this is what Trump and his supporters are arguing. Is that a cause for concern of how political she is?
Well, the Attorney General said that Trump cheated the state, and she's doing her job. Attorney generals in the state of New York are an elected position. They're not appointed. They're elected by the people of the state of New York. And she's out there doing her job. And the fact that he calls her a racist is just some more canard that he's putting out there for his people to fall in line with, because they certainly will start falling out of love with him as this continues. He's looking more like a scam artist and basically a degenerate because of all the other cases that are coming through. And he's holding on, because if he loses his properties, then he's no longer the all-powerful Donald Trump, and it's happening as we speak.
All right, John Christopher Bua from Washington, D.C. Always great to talk to you. And you're right, we always end up talking about Donald Trump, and I feel like that's going to be the pattern moving forward. I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Well, we can always talk about the value of Indian whiskeys, like Molly Gambir mentioned yesterday.
Great talking to you.
Okay.